remind myself, you are fearfully and wonderfully made, and he did set you apart for this very reason. But I think that, in the lowest of the lowest points, like, people have to get out of the mindset of poverty. And when I say poverty, a lot of people automatically think money. And poverty does not only dictate money. And people have to stop thinking like, oh, okay, like, maybe I'm supposed to be here because this is what I was raised around, or this is my environment. And they got to start thinking bigger and better for themselves.
Hello, everybody. Hello. Welcome to Girl, You Are Good Enough, where I am your host, Evangelist Selby. Today, I have someone special in the house. Her name is Kiara Samuels. I am so honored to have this young lady sitting here on the couch. She is so amazing, and people need to know about how amazing she is. Kiara, share with us, before I get into your bio and so forth, tell me a little bit just about yourself, not on a professional, just on your own personal level outside of your degrees and your licenses and so forth.
Okay. So just a little bit about myself. Like Evangelist Selby said, my name is Kiara Samuels. I have been married for 3 lovely years. I have a daughter named Kennedy, and I have 2 stepdaughters, Destiny and Asia. And I don't know. For me, I love shopping. I love making people happy. And I like doing anything that's entertaining. So if you like doing that, listen, we'll get along real well.
And who are you married to, Kiara?
I am married to Alan Samuels. A lot of people like to call him Duffy. But if you ever hear me talking to him, I go by his name, Alan, because that is his name.
Okay, Duffy. So I want to talk about these great accomplishments that you have made. I'm going to just read her bio, y'all. It's so amazing, so bear with me. She is a licensed mental health professional, a licensed chemical dependency professional, and licensed master social worker and a national board certified counselor. Additionally, she obtained a certification as a youth mental health first aid trainer. Kiara is the program manager for Duffy's Hope Incorporated, competitive SRAE grant, partnering. She also partners with many schools and communities centers to promote healthy decision-making skills and providing tools for the best outcome for youth. Must I go on? Kiara has found joy in being able to help others navigate through life, rather helping them making good decision versus bad decisions. She has a passion for empowering youth and has a proven track record. That's my song. Proven track record as an exemplary role model. In addition to providing therapy services, Kiara started a group for young women called Inspire to Be Inspired, where young women come together and express themselves and work through many life challenges. Wow. What a resume. What a resume. I am so impressed. Impressed. And also a woman of faith. Woman of faith. Let's put that. We got to make sure we understand that she's definitely a believer of Christ, raised in Christ Jesus. And I'm sure without him, you couldn't even have done this.
At all.
But this topic, this episode today is called You're Enough. And why she is a special person to be able to talk about it is because I know her from growing up. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And wow, when I say you come from many siblings in the family and so forth, and just to know you as a little girl and just to see how amazing you are. And I haven't even followed your career. I didn't even know you were doing all of this. And I'm like, wow. I'm looking at you like, this is little Kiara, you know, and so forth. But when I was like, this girl is amazing. She's definitely enough, more than enough. But I want to talk about it. Let's try to get into some of these licenses you have. So starting off, like, let's talk about the license in chemical dependency. What made you, or what inspired you to go in that direction to be licensed in that?
So, it's kind of weird to explain to people how I got to where I am. I graduated from University of Delaware, and when I started out at University of Delaware, my major was math education.
Okay.
So I am a certified math education teacher.
You forgot to add that.
I do not talk about my undergrad years for whatever reason. I don't put that on my resume, but I am a certified math education teacher. I'm a certified guidance counselor and a certified principal.
Girl.
Because I have a master's in leadership.
Wow.
But
brave.
Going through the process, honestly, a lot of people may not know, but my father struggled with addiction.
Okay.
And I was like set on dealing with students who had either parents who dealt with addiction or faced some type of addiction themselves.
Wow.
And so I found myself working at a methadone clinic when I finished at University of Delaware. And I was working in Elkton, Maryland for about 5 years. And the lady there was like, you do so well with this. Why don't you become licensed? And I'm like, no, this is just like a stepping stone kind of for me.
Right. So it was, you said you volunteered first there? Or?
No. Okay. They hired me. So
wow. Okay.
I wasn't qualified.
Wow.
And they hired me. And when they hired me, like if I'm taking on a position, like I'm taking it on with everything in me. I'm praying to God, like, God, lead me.
Yes.
And whatever you need me to do in this season, and whatever it is that you need me to do, I'm going to do it. And then when it's time for me to go, I'm going to go.
Wow.
And so
awesome.
I worked with the methadone clinic for about 5 years, like I said, became licensed in chemical dependency, and had no intentions of going any further than that, honestly. I just knew, I know in some way, shape, or form, I need to be of help. I started doing foster care, and things became challenging for me only because I became pregnant with my daughter. And I was finishing my second master's at that time.
Wow.
And I could no longer help with taking children and placing children into different homes. So I was like, I got to figure this out. And so I left from the chemical dependency position, from the foster care. And let me tell y'all, I was working like nobody's business, because I would work with the methadone clinic, and I would go to work at 3 a.m. And get off at 12. At 12 o'clock, I would go get my daughter, because I would do half-day daycare. Go get my daughter, take her home, take her to my mom's. Then I would go to my second job.
Wow.
Then I would leave a second job. Then I would work Duffy's Hope. So I was working 3 jobs around the clock. And there's a lot behind that. So it was not good that I was doing what I was doing. But it was a lot behind that was causing me to do that. But at some point, I was like, I need to go back to school, because everything that I'm doing is because of my own doings. It's not because God is leading me to do what I'm doing. Wow. And I began to go through like a transition where I was in a very uncomfortable space. And when I was going through the mental health professional master's degrees, that was my third master's.
Okay. Wow. So what led you into the mental health?
Well, I was actually like saying, I don't know, if I'm not busy, I feel like I'm not, like it's just too much idle time.
You're not doing, wow.
And I'm like, I'm not doing enough. So I went back to school, and while I'm in the program, it was like working on the inside of me, and I'm like, wait, this is not what we was, looking for.
Right.
But it slowed me down, and I think that's what God wanted to do, was slow me down. And so,
and I feel like for you to go in that direction, like you said, it started working on you. But in order to help somebody else, God starts with us first. You know what I'm saying? Like, how can you tell somebody else the steps when you're going through your own issues and you don't know the steps? So he was educating you, preparing you for what you were about to do or get into and deal with kids and so forth as well. So
and that's exactly right.
Wow. So that was the mental health certification. You decided to go into mental health. I don't know. We may be out of order as far as what went first, what went next, and so forth. But which one were you studying first? Was it mental health first that you told me about the chemical dependency, and then now you said now it shows that you had a national board certification for counseling to be a counselor.
Right.
So which came first? Like, what steps did you take?
So
to get
actually, none of them were. So the chemical dependency came first.
Okay.
But that was when I had everything that was school related.
Okay.
And I said to myself, I'm never going back into schools because I'm not into the politics and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And so I was like, I'm done with schools. I'm going to find a way to get into the community and help kids through the community. Wow. And so I went from the chemical dependency, and then I worked my way into the licensed professional for mental health. And then the national board came after that. Wow. And then the social work came after I got nationally certified.
So your national board certification as a counselor, have you, what areas or what was your reason for saying, okay, I want to be certified as a counselor? Because you were already in the mental health, which is still kind of like, is that still similar to counseling and so forth?
It is. Okay. It's just restrictions as far as insurance goes.
Okay.
So there will be young ladies that will want to work with me, or they will be referred to me, and I would not be able to help them because of the fact that I wasn't able to accept their insurance. Okay. So that's what made me venture into the other areas.
The national board of certification. Wow.
Yeah.
Very intelligent.
And a lot of times, it's strange because people get on me all the time. They be like, "You give away free services when you can get paid for it."
Right.
And I'll be like, "Listen, it's just like everyday life. You talk to somebody, they need help, you help them." Right. And like I tell people all the time, God always provide for me.
Yes.
Regardless, when I help people, it always comes back 100-fold. So therefore, I'm always going to give what God has for me to say to the person when they need to hear it. So
But I believe the Lord, just because you have that heart and because you are a giver, you know what I'm saying? He was just for me, I think all of these were necessary because you are doing, like you said, you were doing it anyway. And so he gives us wisdom on how to make wealth, you know what I'm saying? And so he's telling you this is a source income that I'm giving you because you do it freely. You would do it humbly without even getting paid. So now let me just give you the avenues to get certified or licensed to get paid. You know what I'm saying? So that's
the same as you
God.
with this podcast.
But you know what? And the Lord just gave this to me, like the scripture that sums all of this up is I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me, Philippians 4:13. And the reason why I thought about it, and the Lord put it in my spirit, because I'm like, okay, I know she's married, you have a daughter and so forth, but you still took time to do all of this, get all these degrees, all these licenses and so forth. You're a working woman of God. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, she's a prime example of I can do all things through Christ. Like, you didn't stop at one, you didn't stop at two. And even though you said like it wasn't intention for you, it was God's intention. Like, we don't know our plan, but he knows our plan better than we do. And so it's all working for your good, I'm pretty sure. And so, okay, we talked about the National Board Certified Counselor, the mental health, youth mental health first aid trainer. How did you get into that?
So with Duffy's Hope, we have a grant. And with the grant, We kind of work with schools, community centers,
Mm-hmm.
as well as parents to try to help them navigate working with young people and
Okay.
understanding, where they're coming from.
Right.
Because there's so many different types of behaviors that happen.
Right.
And a lot of times kids are under the radar. And so
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we don't see the signs of suicide and depression
Okay.
and different things that are going on. So I do a free training for adults where I give the skills and tips on how to navigate and how to see the signs when a child is going through something, and then gives ways on how they can help the child. A lot of times with adults, we'll think like, I already know what you're going through. So I know the answers, but a lot of times it's not that simple.
Right.
And so I do a training, and it's a 6-hour training that we do. And then they become youth mental health first aiders.
What?
And so they'll be able to see the signs and symptoms of depression. It's so many different categories that we go over, but the main one is suicide and depression.
Awesome. And so tell me what it says you're a program manager for Duffy Hope Incorporated competitive SRAE grant. And so can you tell me what SRAE means?
It's sexual risk avoidance education.
I did some research. I wanted to make sure before.
Yep. So our goal behind the SRAE grant, we're actually trying to renew the grant now, but we go into schools and we talk about their goals for the future and decreasing sexual behavior, preparing for like marriage and things of that nature before making risky decisions and causing a deterrence in their life. So we go into the schools, we provide free training to the students, and we give them incentives, we give them gift cards, things that try to keep them engaged, but we try to make it where it's entertaining and fun, but also where they're learning something so that they can push forward instead of doing what their friends are doing a lot of times, because a lot of times they're making decisions based off of what's trending.
Wow. That's awesome. So how do you manage the challenges and juggle multi roles and licenses? It seems like you do it all. So how do you manage it? How do you balance, it all? So for instance, if one person comes for chemical dependency, boom, they will see you. Master social worker, you know what I'm saying? They'll come see you. Mental health, you're certified. They'll come see you. First aid help. They will come. So how do you balance it all? How do you make yourself available for all of that? And is this all done at one place? Is it all done at the Duffy's Hope? What is it called? The Duffy's Hope Incorporated, or do you branch out into other areas? Do you have other jobs? I guess that's what I'm saying, or you work other places other than Duffy?
So outside of Duffy's Hope, I am a contractor for 2 other organizations.
Okay.
so I have a client list that I'm actually on Psychology Today. Okay. So people reach out to me on Psychology Today to try to book me. And I will go through. So I was with Your Center, and now I'm transitioning into Aspire. And they're both private practices.
Okay.
And so once I get a client list, that's when I'll start working with those selected people. Okay. For the most part, you'll see on my Psychology Today profile that I only work with teens.
Okay.
And it's not that I'm against adults, but that's where my specialty lies, is with teens.
So how will we find you if someone's interested in, having their teen come see you? Like, what website? Do you have a website or something that we can get this information and book appointments? And so is that just for, what part is that? Like you said, you're licensed outside. So it was for the mental health for the youth.
So it's all of it.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Okay. So under Psychology Today, all of my licenses are listed, what I specialize in. Okay. And then they'll be able to either email me, or on Psychology Today, it provides my phone number for them to directly contact me. And they'll be able to get directly to me that way, where they could ask me about doing an intake. We'll do a consultation. From the consultation, I would just make sure their insurance is approved.
Okay.
And then we would just start our services.
Okay. So do you make home visits? Do you? Because I know a lot of people. I know during COVID time, people were doing counseling through what is it?
Virtual.
Mm-hmm. So do you offer that as well?
Yep. So I do virtual, and then I do also and do in person.
Wow.
So either way, I do both.
Okay.
Yep.
So so we know how to find you. And again, what do we go under?
Psychologytoday.com.
Psychology.
And then just look up Kiara Samuels. You don't have to put in all my letters that follows that, but just look up Kiara Samuels and you'll be able to find me.
That's awesome. So let me ask you a question. What does resilience mean to you in your work and your life?
I think for me, resilience is basically knowing that at some point you're going to lose in something, but being able to get back up and keep going. Never losing sight of what's in store for you, even when you don't even know. Right. It's almost like faith. So you take that step regardless of what it looks like. You just keep moving and trusting and believing that along the way, something's going to change and something's going to happen. And I'm not saying that you have to believe in God, but what I am saying is he is mighty and powerful, and he will put you in places that you have never seen coming. So therefore, the resilience is knowing and believing that and trusting in what his plans are is the best plan.
Amen. So can you tell us about a time you had to rely on your resilience?
I think I've had to rely on my resilience since my teenage years, honestly. From a teenager, I've always found myself trying to fit in, trying to be like the in crowd, and I never found comfortability there. And so I would try to do the things that the other girls or, teenagers was doing, and I could never find the contentment in it. And it was like I was always being, I can't even think of the word for it, but it was like a no, like this is not where this is not what I had for you. And so the more I tried it, the worse it was for me. The more I gave in, the worse the results were for me. Wow. And honestly, I think saying my teenage years, yes, but when I hit my daughter, even though I hit my daughter at the age of 26, I was so and convicted is what I was looking for. I was so convicted when I hit my daughter. And I could remember the one day I was at like my lowest point, and I was going to Temple of Praise, and I told my pastor, I said, I know it's not mandatory, but I really need to apologize because for me, I just know what God had in store for me. And it wasn't that my daughter stopped it, by no means.
Of course. But
at the same time, I was just like, you got me this far. And for me to just stop and allow the outside influences to overpower what you're doing for me, it really convicted my spirit. So I had a hard time when I hit my daughter. And like I said, even when I hit my daughter, it was the hardest time of my life. I was in a hospital for 8 months. And I had to stop my master's program. And every day they told me, she might not make it. And
so you were in the hospital for 8 months on bed rest? Wow.
Yep. Really? They timed my showers. They would tell me, because it would be times that I would get emotional. And they would say, we need you to stop crying now. You're, when I went in the hospital, I was 2 months pregnant, and I was 50% effaced, 3 centimeters dilated. And so they were like, you are starting to contract, and we need you to stop crying. And I'm telling you, although I put myself in situations, God always find a person that will be there to keep me going.
Thank you, Jesus.
And so I had a nurse, and this nurse, every day she would tell me, okay, I don't know what's going on today, but I need you to get it together because we got a baby to deliver in 9 months. And I'll be like, I know, but I'm just having a hard time. Okay, what we got to do to get you back together? And so that was really like a resilient moment for me because it was I had no other choice but to trust God in that moment. But I think also my mom just sacrificing so much of her time to stay at the hospital with me day in and day out. And she didn't have to do that. So in that moment, like I said, he slowed me down yet again. And it was like, you know, I know that you have a plan for yourself, but my plan is greater. So just wait.
God had a plan for you.
Be patient. And so with my daughter, there's so much in store for her. And I'm excited for it because she already shows that she has so much inside of her, but it just takes a little shaping and tuning.
Of course.
And so I'm just excited for what God is going to do with both of us.
Come on. And it is so, you basically answered the next question, because I was going to say who and what inspired you to keep on going during your roughest time. Of course, we give the glory to God, of course, and we thank God for your mom being that supporter to push you and to encourage you and to let you know it's going to be all right. But it just reminds me of so much of even testimonies that I can attest to when God got a calling on your life.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? When he has a real calling on, the enemy is going to come. He's going to attack. And I know all of us have everyone has a calling on their life. Everyone has something special that God put inside of us. Every single one of us. Some of us miss the call. Some of us don't answer the call. Some of us ignore the call. You know what I'm saying? And one thing I realized just growing up in Christ is that we can run, but we can't hide. When God got a call, no matter what, you can run and say, I don't want to. I'm going to do it my way. But when he wants you, he has a way of pulling you back to him and to lead and guide you in the path he has for your life. Right. And it just makes me think about just the trials that you went through, like as your baby. I call that automatically a special anointed child of God, that something special that God has for her, as well as he has and is doing in your life now. I mean, we see it. Like you were in a master's program, you had a baby, and then I'm gonna ask this question: even after you had your child, you still accomplished some more of these licenses and degrees, right? How many more did you, like, after you had your child? When did you go back and say, you know what, I still got some other schooling that I want to do, and some other training that I want to get, and so forth? Like, so
listen, that child was with me through the trenches. You hear me? Listen, it was like I heard the doctor said you could go back to work, and I said, let's go. And so, I mean, there's been plenty of times where it would be, I'll be getting her up at 2 a.m. And, you know, like a part of me, like, sometimes I face guilt with it. But all I knew was I just got to give her better. I just got to. And I've always been like that type of person. Like, I can't live in just like any kind of situation, regardless. And so, she would be in that car seat, and I'll be taking her down the flights of steps in our apartment to get to the car, and running in the morning and getting her from place to place. But I ended up going back immediately, finishing out my master's, and then after I finished that master's, I wasn't content. I wasn't content. So then that's when I went back and got my last one. And it's crazy.
Which was your last one?
My last one was the licensed professional mental health counselor.
Okay. Wow.
And so what's crazy is now she'll say to me, Mom, when you gonna get your doctorate? Wow. What's taking you so long? And I'll be like, girl, ain't no reason for me to get a doctor because I ain't trying to teach nobody. And so, like, she's so adamant about getting a doctorate. But at the young age of 12, it's crazy because, well, it's not crazy, honestly. But
all God's plan.
But she already talks about, like, her plan. And so she'll be like, oh, Mom, can you reach out to this person and see if I could possibly train with them to see if it's something I want to do, because I'm getting closer to high school and I want to have a plan. The one thing she is adamant about, though, she ain't going to college. She be like, I'm not wasting your money on college. If I could get a business license and run my own business.
Is that Gen Z? Because that's Gen Z all day long. Like, I'm serious. My kids who are now they're in college, like, but they feel as though we
Wasted
don't even
time.
need college. Like, why do we need college, Mom? We can become a millionaire. Can become rich without going to college. I mean, that's their mindset. Their mindset is like, and
it's good though.
mean, but do you see what's going on in the world? Like, it's new ways to make that money. Then, you know, back in our day, it's like you got to have that schooling. It's everything, and you can't get ahead if you don't get it, no matter what. But this new generation, this technology and everything that's going on, I believe God has provided new avenues for us to get it in a different way. I'm not knocking out the college, or I'm definitely not knocking out, because I got to keep them encouraged and stuff. But I don't knock the ones that say, you know what, I still have a vision. I trust the process. I'm going to trust God enough to step out on faith and to do what I believe he called me to do. And we can't be the ones that say, no, I don't think that's the way. And I got a testimony in regards to that, because my daughter Angel, like, and I think I even talked to you at some point in time. I mean, top of her class, you know, she could have went anywhere. And Morgan was one of the places that she was choosing to go and so forth. And we end up going through the process. I think it was like a month left for us to like basically move in. And I was in prayer. She knows around the time I have my prayer time, probably like 3, 4, whatever in the morning. It varies and so forth. And so she got up and she said, Mom, can I pray with you? I was in my prayer closet in my prayer time. And she said, Mom, can I pray with you? And I'm like, for what? She was crying and in tears. And I said, what's going on, Angel? Tell me what's going on. And she said, Mom, I just need to pray. I need to make sure, you know, what I believe the Lord is speaking to me to do. But I just want to make sure. And so I told her, you know, what was it? She said, well, you know, I'm supposed to go to Morgan and everything, but I'm believing the Lord is put in my spirit a different route or different way to do it. And not to say I'm not going to school, but a different way. I was like, okay. And so we decided that we were going to fast and pray for like up until that month's time to determine, was this God or was this just her flesh, or you know what I'm saying? And one thing I will never take, and I definitely not take from her, and I'm not going to say like she, you know, but she was a child in elementary and junior high and high school. She was that child that prayed about everything, like every test. She would tell me like, Mom, I bowed my head. I was like, in the name of Jesus. And then her friends would see that every time they would see her praying, like bowing her head praying, and they seen the results of A's, to the point that they would say, Angel, pray for me. And she's like, you better learn how to pray for yourself. Like, and so she would tell them, trust in Jesus. Like it was a ministry, and she didn't even know she was ministering. And so when she, you know, was ready to make that decision about college or trying to make the right decision, and when she said, I believe the Lord is saying, I said, let's pray about it. Right. And when she got the confirmation, God gave me the peace, because I trusted the Christ that was in her. And, you know, a lot of time us as parents, we get so prideful, like, you're going to college because that looks great for us. It becomes more about, even though we know it's for them, but a part of us get in, our flesh get in the way and say,
people watching me raise you.
Yeah. But guess what? God gave me, I realized each of my children have their own different journeys. Right. And I had to accept that, because at one point raising them, I'm like, everybody's doing this. Everybody's going this way. And God had to let me know everybody has their journey. So the outcome was the Lord spoke to her and said, okay. And I forgot to mention this part is, one of the reasons why she was asking that is because, you know, God anointed her to make gowns and dresses as a designer. And it was so easy for her, like, to do what she did. And so she was like, Mom, I can't take my my sewing machine to school. I can't take none of my stuff. I need my own room, but, you know, that wasn't going to work.
Not an option.
And so that was one of, I guess, the question inside, like, okay, God, you're making this so easy for me to make these gowns and dresses. Like, and she said, I don't want to go to school for 4 years, not do any designing, and just focus on my career. And then when I come graduate, then I don't even want to design anymore, because she feels as though I may lose interest or whatever. So the outcome after praying and fasting was that the Lord told her to go to Del Tech. Right? Now think about it. Somebody who's a great scholar knows,
what
right?
you doing at Del Tech?
Somebody who's getting great grades, and then you want to go to Del Tech and you can go anywhere else. You can go anywhere else you want to go. I mean, top of your game, and you choose to go to Del Tech, so that you can keep your business. And then after Del Tech, of course, pursuing the other 4 years, but to go to Del Tech, continue your business, still focus in the degree of engineering and so forth, but go to Del Tech. And then, so to the flesh, to somebody who would be prideful, or even a parent would say, are you, that looks crazy.
Right.
Del Tech is only for people, I mean, people think it's only for people who can't go to, but that was not the case. That wasn't the case. And so I say all that to say that I can't knock, like, if you support your daughter and you believe in what the Lord is showing you about her and believe in, what she, sees as a vision for herself, we can't hold them back. We just got to trust the process and pray about it, because we want to make sure it is God and that he leads and guide the journey. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I had to say that, because some people would say to you, like, why wouldn't you push her and encourage her? You can do it. You're smart. You can go to college just like everybody. I went to college. I got 4 and 5 different licensing degrees.
But she not me.
You get it? You get what I'm saying? You get what I'm saying? But for you to be so, have that much faith in Jesus, because it's not faith in you and it's not faith in her.
Yeah.
It's faith in to believe that the journey that the Lord had for you and how he led you through all of this, that she has her own journey, and we're going to trust God through that journey with you. And not only that, she got a great support system. Like, you know what I'm saying? You're about your business. You're about making sure you do well in whatever you do. Just, that's why you was like, well, that wasn't me. That wasn't enough. I couldn't rest. I couldn't just sit still. So for you to have that peace is an awesome, I mean, I think that's awesome for other parents to hear, to say, you know what, I'm going to trust God through this, and I'm a supporter in whatever decision she makes. You know what I'm saying?
And I think too, like, first of all, she's 12.
So I mean, she's still got
gonna
time.
change. It's gonna change so much.
Right.
But the thing that I love about it though is, like, just the other day, she so she gets the allowance. She took her allowance money, and she did the whole CPR certified, the babysitting license that she's taking the course online, because she like, her whole thing is right now she wants to be somebody's watch girl, and she wants to babysit.
Smart. That's
and so she know a young lady who has a salon, and she said, I'm gonna reach out to her and I'm gonna see what she say. Maybe she'll let me do like 2 days a week or something. Right. And she was like, she don't have to pay me or nothing, but I just want to see if it's something that I really want to do. Right. And so, how can I not support that?
Right. And like you said, she's still young, so she's still trying to figure it out, find out what she likes to do.
She does. So she's really good at math. She is 7th grade. She takes 9th grade math. And so she tests out games online, and she get paid anywhere from $250 to $500 to test out games for them to release them.
Can she give me that hookup? So I can
People say that to me all the time, but you know what's crazy? I have no idea how we got here. Like, and when I say it, I'm so serious. This lady legit reached out to me one day, and she said, so she did a brand ambassador job for the lady once before, and she reached out to me one day, and she said, I remember I had Kennedy on this panel, and we were asking her about numbers, and she was quick with the numbers, and she was like, we have another panel coming up, and she said if it works out, she'll go further, and while they was doing the panel, Kennedy, I guess, mastered it, because they called me back 2 days later and was like, can she join this cohort of kids who test out math games?
What? And
so just about every other month, she go online for an hour and 45 minutes, and sometimes they'll get gift cards for like $200. Sometimes they'll get $500 checks.
You are kidding me.
But she builds up her account. And so when people say, oh, you spoil that girl, I be like, no, it's really her own money. Like, it's her own money. But I said all that to say, one thing I wanted to circle back to before I lose sight of it, I went to Morgan State. And so when I heard that Angel wasn't going to Morgan State, I was so excited.
I know, because you were giving me advice and
I was
stuff.
thrilled that she wasn't going. And the only reason why I was thrilled was because sometimes like certain places is just not for everybody.
Really?
And so when I went to Morgan State, I was every day, I would be, and my mom, oh, you homesick. And it wasn't that I was necessarily homesick. It was just that I didn't belong there. And so
you something else.
And so I'm telling you, I scheduled all my classes to be Monday through Thursday. I didn't care how I had to do it. If I had to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning, all my classes was Monday through Thursday. Thursday night, I would leave to come home. And a lot of time people thought, look, I was doing it because I was working 3 jobs. So I would work 3 triples at my 3 jobs over the weekend.
And still going to school.
And go back to Morgan State on Monday morning to go to class. And then, so my roommate hated me. She hated me big time because she was a partier. But a lot of times, like, I feel like as college kids, like that's the going thing is like, oh, you're here to have fun. And yes, you are. You're supposed to have fun and enjoy it.
If you can balance it out.
Right.
That was
but I never had a real college experience. And I tell people that all the time. I don't know what college is like. So don't ask me. Because, yes, I have the degrees, but I don't know what a homecoming looked like. I don't know everything that I did, it was like, okay, let me connect to this person.
Mission. It was like you was on a mission. God sent you on a mission.
And now I look at it as a mission. At the time, I looked at it like I was running. And so.
What were you chasing?
It wasn't that I was chasing anything. It was running from fear. Okay. And so I was afraid that I would fail. And so I would put myself into situations because I was so scared that, I'm going to end up not doing the things that I said I was going to do. And so I'm like, oh, I got to do this for this person and I got to do that for this person. And it was never like, oh, I want to do this because this will make me happy. It was always about other people. And that's why I said, when I got the degrees, at the time, people would be like, oh, why don't you want to have a graduation party? Why don't you want to celebrate it? Why don't you put it online? And it wasn't that like I was, afraid to do that, but it was just like I wasn't doing it for myself. So I couldn't enjoy the moment.
Really?
So I couldn't even enjoy the process of it.
So who do you feel like you were doing it for when you say you weren't doing it for yourself?
I feel like I was doing it more for like my mom or my grandparents.
Okay. You just wanted to be successful. Did you have that mindset? Like you just didn't want to be.
It was a mixture. So I wanted to be successful, but I also wanted to be different than what people like assumed that Black girls was like. And so there's like this assumption that like you gotta get it, you gotta depend on a man, or
come on,
you gotta like
that's what I'm talking about.
You have to. It's just so many different things that like just crossed my mind. And so it was just like, for me, I was just like, I have this terrible fear of just not being successful. And at the time, I didn't even know what success meant. It was just like, for me, success was like, oh, I'm going to have a big house. I'm going to have a nice car, this, that, and the third. But there was no like direction behind it.
Right.
And so I was jumping from thing to thing to thing and causing myself a lot of debt, nonetheless.
But God's going to take care of that for sure. Because I feel like all of this is still purpose. It still connects the dots. It's not like one's for fetch, like it all lines up to the same thing, and it's all about service. Servicing like this is all helping somebody in a crisis or in a situation and to help bring them out. So that's
funny that you said that.
It's all service, and that's what God is in the Bible. It talks who was Jesus. He was all about service. He was all about serving, helping, showing love. All of this is service, and that's why the enemy tried to overtake you, defeat you, put you in a hospital, and all this kind of stuff that you were going through. And like you said, even within yourself, you know what I'm saying, that you were dealing with. But I believe that you are now at a place because you went through all of this, and whatever your other experiences were, you went through all of that for a reason. So you can be, and it sounds like you have a pure heart, which means you can be a person that honestly share your walk with somebody who's confused, don't know which way to go, maybe going through mental issues, maybe going through chemical dependency, maybe going through whatever they may be going through. I feel like you are more you have the spirit to be more relatable.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Where they can understand, you know what, if she did it, I can do it. You were married, you had a baby, and you still seem to be able to come out on top. I say on top. I mean, it's very impressive. And one thing I like and love that you said, because I am a parent that firmly believes on getting your own, so you don't depend on a man or a spouse, or you know what I'm saying. And I tell my daughters that all the time. You know how Black girls, like you said, always, or women, period, I want to look for somebody rich so they can take care of me. But you got to understand it's a lot to that. You know what I'm saying? Because now you give him control over you. Now you're kind of like a puppet to some, you know what I'm saying? And I always teach my girls and my sons, I just want them to be able to have your own. Like I tell them now, if you're living with your parents, live with them.
Yeah.
But while you're living with them, get a career, get a career path, strong career path for yourself, so that you don't have to depend on a man. So you don't have to depend on a woman. So you don't have to depend on anyone, but you would be strong enough to take care of yourself. And I think that's what I'm discerning from you. Like you had, when you say I was running, it makes me feel like you were basically saying, I don't want to have to depend on anyone. I want to be strong in who I am, that I can stand and take care of me and my daughter if I have to by myself and be good.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And
I got to that point where I was good. Like I'm like, I finally got to a place where I'm good. And it was in that place that, you know, my husband found me, and you know, I thank God for him every single day, because he is a provider. But he forced me to get out of that survival mode. And so there's still times where I'm like, oh, hold on, we can't buy that because we got to save for this, or we got to save for that. But we balance each other out, because he just always, you know, pushes me to understand that even though, like, we need to save, it's okay for us.
Enjoy life.
Yeah, it's okay for, and that's the most thing that I appreciate. I mean, the fact that he makes me laugh all the time is one thing too, but that I think that's the most thing that, like, I could appreciate the most, because I've always lived in the mindset that, you know, I can't buy this because I might need this tomorrow to get X, Y, and Z. And so because I've always lived in that mindset, when he came and he was like, you know, like, don't do that. We're good. Just believe that we are good.
Enjoy.
I got you.
Enjoy
We're
your
good.
blessings that the Lord
right.
has allowed
And
you to
so because I was so stuck in, like, the mindset that, like, I gotta make sure that I'm good regardless of a man, this and the third. Even with that, he still was like, you know, I know you want to do it on your own, but I'm here to be your helpmate.
Awesome.
And so it took away that, like, whole, oh, I'm the independent, strong woman, and made me understand that, like, it's okay. Let go. It's okay.
But I love the part that you just said, because I was going to say that God sent you a helpmate. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Even though you can hold it down by yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If you have to. But he sent you a helpmate, and a helpmate to let you know, I have you, I support you, and relax. You don't have to go. You don't have to run no more.
Yes,
you know what I'm saying? You can walk and not faint. You know. And so that is awesome. That's an awesome testament to even just, I mean, everything that you experience, and you're still experiencing life, and you're still learning. But let me ask this question. So by you being a part of the Duffy Hope Incorporated, how has it evolved since you've dedicated your time and your I'll say your anointing to it?
So people be saying all the time, they be like, oh, Duffy, you're doing all these different things down in here. And so I think that for the most part, because Duffy and myself are both givers, honestly. And so having a giver that's willing to give, and then you're able to receive at the same time, we're able to bounce so many different ideas off of each other.
That's good. And
not only do it flourish in our personal lives, but professionally it flourishes also, because I'm quick to be like, these kids need coats.
Oh,
These kids need this.
I
These
love
kids
that
need
too.
that.
I
And
like that too.
sometimes he be like, now where the money coming from? But he'll say that, but then in the same token, he will find a way to make it happen. And so that's why we've led to different avenues, is because if I have an idea, like you know, he's starting the foster care, transitional home for the foster care. And so I said, you know, I've worked with foster care young ladies for years, and I've always wanted to provide them just a safe space where, you know, they don't have to worry about the outside world. They had somewhere safe to return back to. And so he took that and was like, okay, well, let's make it happen. I know somebody that can get us to the point where we can make that happen. Just like with the grants that we're currently doing. You know, he would say, you know, I think that this is the avenue we need to take, or whatever the case may be. And we were able to walk down those paths and figure it out how we can, you know, help more people. So what went from us just working with a few youth and the Salvation Army has now flourished into about six different grants. So it's been amazing, honestly. It's really been amazing.
You are very intelligent.
Thank you.
And I love the part when you say y'all are givers, because I believe, like the Bible says, given it shall be given back to you. And you know what I'm saying, you reap what you sow and all of that. I definitely believe in that. And I believe that's why you guys met each other, because if he's a giver to somebody and sometimes you don't get it back in return, don't we do that?
Yeah.
And we don't even sometimes look at the fact of getting it back in return, or just heart. It just wants to always help. That's service. That's the Jesus part of you both, is that, because again, back to the word, that's what he did. He served. And so now you guys met each other. Now you're reaping. You're reaping from each other. You know what I'm saying? All that you gave out and all that he gave out, now you guys have met each other, and you're able to enjoy each other and be a blessing to each other.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And another part that I love was, because I'm also like that. Like, I love outreach. I love helping. Like, sometimes and he has a kind heart. My husband, you know, Rob, he likes to help and give, but I feel like he think I go overboard. He likes to give in a maybe a more subtle type of way, but I'm a person, I see you on the street, or if a person asks, like, I'm like, stop, let's give them money. And then, well, that's too much, you know. I go, like I said on one of my episodes, just explaining how this was all birthed, was that one of the things that I love to do for Christ, because I'm a person that loves service as well, to help. I love to feed the homeless. I like to go in the woods, and well, I can't say I like to go in the woods, but some of them were in the woods, and we just went in the woods and we fed them, and you know, refilled their propane tank. It's just service. It's service.
Yeah.
And I believe that's a strong anointing upon you, is that you have the anointing to serve, to help others. And so while you was running around saying you running, God knew exactly what he was doing, because I believe when you're faithful to him, he's going to be faithful to you. And so because you had the heart to serve, like I said again, he's saying, okay, here's avenues for even you to be blessed back, like you're giving, and then let me show you how to receive back. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's nothing wrong with that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like when you help a family member, and then you saying, I don't want to get paid for it or whatever. But the reality of it is you still got to pay your bills. And a lot of times we like, no. But then our heart is saying, but I still want to give it all, but I don't know how I'm going to pay my bills, but I still want to help. I still want to be there. And God's saying, I provided an avenue for you to still be able to serve and still be taken care of. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I see in this, is that you have a great heart to serve. That's an anointing. And let me ask you some more questions. So what inspired you to start Inspire to be inspired?
So if you look at the logo itself, it's a continuous circle.
Okay.
And so I've always felt like, you know how they say they put the ring on you and they say, you know, this circle cannot be broken. it's just the sisterhood and knowing that, when we can put each other back together, it's something that it's almost like you plant the seed, I water it, I go do the rest.
Right.
It's the same idea. So if I can inspire you, you could take that and inspire another young lady, and then just keep the cycle going.
Okay.
And then you're actually causing a good impact on someone else. That was the whole purpose behind Inspired to be Inspired. So I like to get young ladies together, and we just talk about the typical things that they're dealing with and how we can help each other. I used to do the retreats with the young ladies, and I love doing the retreats because it would give them just the freedom just to be able to talk about any and everything, and we would stay up all night long just talking about life. And I really wanted to get into the point where I could, take it to a spiritual level. At the time, I did not have the capacity to do so because of, like I said, myself. But I was like, you know what? It's time for me to get back out there. I've been hiding for too long. And so I do, I sell apparel. And the only reason why I do sell it is so that I can fund retreats without the young ladies having to come out of the pocket and pay anything to do the retreat. So
that is awesome. I feel like we got a connection here. I'm serious because even the birth of Girl, You're Good Enough, it comes from, first of all, he had to inspire me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? To let me know. And it was a battle. That's a whole nother episode I've done, which is coming out soon. But it was a fight within myself. Have you ever had a fight within yourself where you felt like you weren't enough? And was that your inspiration to do all of what you have done? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, because it starts up here with us. Like, even though you got all of what you have now, and was it a point before? Well, I guess you basically even answered that question. Like you said, how you were running and you didn't want to stop. Like, you always felt like you had a reason to keep on doing what you did. Was it a point? And I believe you answered it, but I'm gonna say it again, where you said that you didn't feel like you were enough.
Well, there was a lot of times I didn't feel like I was enough.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I've had that internal battle for a while. So Kennedy's father was my first boyfriend, and I thought like, oh, I found love, and you set yourself up to believe that all these perfect things is gonna come from it, and I don't want to spend time focusing on him, but I never felt good enough, and so I would try to force it where oh, it's gonna get better. Oh, and even like friendships, I had a lot of users that would take advantage of the fact that I was a giver, and they would like mooch off of me so much, and then it would be like I'm the one that's left to feel empty, feel used, and not understanding why our friendship went in a way that it did. And a lot of times I'll be like, maybe it's something about me that, I'm the problem or something. But after a while, I had to realize, like, it's not always you. It's other people sometimes, too. Now, I did have to take ownership of my role in whatever situation I was in. But I can say, like, probably up until maybe, like, 28, 29, I had a hard time feeling like I was worthy of even being, and that's why maybe I had a hard time celebrating myself, because I didn't feel like I was worthy of the path that God had me on. Or if I did feel like I was worthy, I would feel like, you can't celebrate that because other people will feel like you're doing too much or you're trying to be better than them. So I would dumb myself down because I wanted to feel like, oh, I'm just the same as them. So let me just act like, I'm on the same level or whatever the case may be. When inside, I know it was an internal battle. So
when I tell you, I got so many questions from that, but I feel like you're my twin. Where have you been? No, twin, where have you been. No, seriously, because I'm older.
Yeah.
And I've been all of that. I've been definitely the imposter syndrome.
Yes.
And I don't care how much you do or how much you've been through, you still have that thing where you feel as though I'm not enough. But before I even elaborate on a lot of stuff you said, is so relatable. How do you feel now? How do you feel now? Do you feel as though you're enough?
Yeah, absolutely.
Great.
Listen.
And what can you tell somebody who feel as though they're not enough? Even in the place they're in. Even in the place, because the place could be down low, the place could be up high, because it starts here.
Yeah.
You can imposter syndrome. You can have so many great accomplishments. Let's say, for instance, if Jesus didn't take control of you at this space you're in, this where you are right now, you could have still felt like you weren't enough.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So what took place inside of you to make you feel like, you know what? I'm good enough. I'm enough.
And I mean, me quickly saying was too quick, because there are still some times where I will remind myself, you are fearfully and wonderfully made, and he did set you apart for this very reason. But I think that, in the lowest of the lowest points, like, people have to get out of the mindset of poverty. And when I say poverty, a lot of people automatically think money. And poverty does not only dictate money. And people have to stop thinking like, oh, okay, like, maybe I'm supposed to be here because this is what I was raised around, or this is my environment. And they got to start thinking bigger and better for themselves. And if your thinking is off, everything's going to fall into place. And so it becomes a continuous cycle where your behaviors start to model behind what your thinking is. And so I just had a conversation with my friend, and I said, let me tell you something. The more that you think it's going to be the worst, the more that it's going to be the worst. Until you start to speak life into the situation, nothing's going to change about it. So therefore, as long as you set yourself up to believe that, okay, it is what it is, then that's what it's going to be.
And the thing is, what we have to teach them is that even though you feel like that, word is power. Especially if you're a faith believer. So you speak those things as not as though they were. So therefore, even if I'm not where I want to be, I don't have to stay there. You know what I'm saying? It's not going to be where I'm going to be, because I'm believing for greater. You know what I'm saying? So speaking definitely is very, very important part as far as getting our mindset. First of all, you gotta not want to stay stuck. Because your mind can say all day long, this is who you are, this is who you're gonna be, this is what's gonna happen in your life, and you gotta say, devil, you're a liar.
That's right.
You gotta speak back to that spirit, because that spirit would start with the mind, then it'll get in your heart, then you start walking it out. So therefore, you gotta identify that this is not what I have, and I know this isn't what God has for me. I'm right here. I'm not feeling happy. I'm not feeling successful. I'm not doing anything, but I don't want to stay stuck. What can you tell somebody who feels like, I'm stuck and I can't get out of it? I don't know how to get out of it. Like, what can you motivate them? What can you say to them and tell them, like,
I think
when they feel like that?
For the most part, though, like, really, we all look at the big picture, and we never look at the small steps it takes to get to the big picture. And so if we start small and work on the small things, if I can save $1, okay, let me save $1 every day. After I save $1 every day, what is it working up to? Once I start saving $1, can I add something to that and making it bigger? So even with our mindsets, I know I can't change everything that's going on in my life right now, and I can't fix it all. But there's something about my life that's going on right now that I could take a small piece of it and start to work away on it. What is that small thing? So you identify whatever that small thing is, and you start to work at that. And then you add on to it day by day by day. And if it take you 2 years, 3 years, you did it.
Do something.
Yeah, you got to do
stay
something.
Stuck. Don't just sit there and wait. I used to be, I'm going to just tell you the truth. I used to feel like, okay, God showed me so many visions and so many dreams and so forth. And I used to expect God to knock on that door, open up the door, and he say, come on, I'm here to tell you what steps to take for the dreams and visions. Like, I used to feel like, but I'm trusting you, so I'm waiting on you. But really, Jesus was waiting on me. Like, he's waiting on me to take a step, a leap of faith. You got to activate your faith by doing. Because faith without works is dead. You can say all day long, I'm going to be, which is good, because speaking it is very powerful. You got to understand, I don't like to be around anyone negative that's speaking negative. I need a positive environment. I need like-mindedness. You know what I'm saying? Because that can cause you to stay stuck. You could tell a person a vision, a dream of what the Lord says, and they say, girl, please, you need to sit down. That's too much, girl. That ain't you, or whatever. And so you got to be very, very careful of who you share your visions and your dreams with, because they could be dream killers. And so the Lord has taught me, and I'm telling you, I felt like I got this older instead of younger. I used to seriously eat the word all day long, live the word. And even though I was doing, I still had more visions and dreams, and still to this day, but I'm walking them out now. You know what I'm saying? I'm walking them out now, but look how long it took me. But that's okay.
But that goes back into it. You did something though along the way that you don't realize that you did to get you where you are today. And you're saying, oh, look how long it took me. God don't care about your age. He will move with speed of lightning. He don't care how old you are.
Come on. And I want to elaborate on that, because I wanted to share that with my last episode, to let them know, because it's people out there that feel as though they reached a point where I did all I can do. I'm too old to start something new. I'm too old to try something new. I'm too old to even do what I know God told me to do. Even though, you know what I'm saying? Like, before, you might have had hiccups, whether it was finances, you were raising kids, family, whatever, but you're a prime example. We're a prime example that even though you're raising a family, you still can chase after your vision and dream. So I wanted to say this to people that feel as though they're too old, feel as though they've already did college or whatever, or didn't, or how it's not too late. Like, you still have time. If you're still alive and breathing,
that's right.
Jesus still has purpose for you. Like, it's not for you to say, I'm at this age and it's for me to chill because I did all I can do. If you're still alive and breathing, and
there's still work to do.
And it's still work to do. And not only that, even if you have visions and you might have had them 10, 20 years ago, and you might have let them go because you felt as though it's too hard, I'm afraid. Fear cripples you. I hate fear. You know what I'm saying? Because fear locks us down in prison. Like, we will not move or do anything because of fear. And why is that? We're afraid of how people are going to judge us. We're afraid of how opinionated people are, which is judging. We're afraid of not being successful. We're afraid it's not going to work. We got a whole bunch of fear that overtakes us and cripples us to make us to that point of not doing anything.
Right.
And so I have to rebuke fear. I have to bind up fear. And this is the crazy part that I wanted to add, is that even doing this, I'm a person all my life here. Y'all know, I've always talked about Jesus everywhere, right? Street, anywhere. You could take me anywhere. I'm a Jesus lover. I go in my kids' school. I find an opportunity to tell them about Jesus. This is who I've been all my life. I can go, people who know me from the bank, I promise you, I turned that bank upside down because I was about Jesus, walking with my Bible. And so when God told me 4 or 5 years ago about this podcast, I had every reason to say, okay, yes, because this is right, but I allowed the fear to creep in my head to say, girl, you are not good enough. I'm going to keep it real. I felt like I had every reason to then say, okay, I'm not good enough, and why I'm not good enough. You know what I'm saying? Like, fear will build. It will build a whole bunch of bricks on top of your head to make you feel like you can have one reason why you're not good enough, right?
Yeah.
But because you allow that thing to keep stirring inside of your head and you don't rebuke it, you don't know how to deal with it, it keeps building and building. And that's why we have people out here today that has so much inside of them and refuse to do anything about it because of fear.
Yeah.
And one reason the Lord put in my spirit of this podcast was to speak to even those people to say, you have so much. We still have so much. Kiara, you still got so much.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? I don't care how much you have accomplished. You still have so much inside of you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And we, again, allow fear to cripple us, to stop us, to hinder us. We try to use every excuse, money. We try to find every reason. But I can assure you, and I'm a testament, I feel even stronger now in my faith, to say that if you, like you just said, if you take a step,
yep,
if you just start working, because that activates the faith. Activate the faith. When you start making a step and say, you know what, I believe the Lord said it, so I'm gonna start making one step.
Yeah,
I'm gonna do another step. I'm gonna do another step, and you keep, because you're activating the faith when you make the steps. If you sit still and wait for somebody to knock on the door, and it ain't gonna happen. Because now we put our hope and our faith and our trust in people, right, and not put it in God. And that was another thing. I would always wait for somebody to say, once I gave them what my idea of what the Lord told me to do, I would wait for a positive response. Like, if it was positive, I'm like, okay,
that's what I'm supposed to do.
Track, right? But don't you know, have you ever been in a place where God told you and he spoke to you and you received that thing and you got no positive response?
Yep.
You got nobody to cheer you on. And have you ever been in a place where you couldn't base it off of feeling?
Yeah.
Because I'm speaking in regards to me. I was waiting for, like, when the Lord spoke to me, I was waiting for a feeling to motivate me even the more. Like, right.
I know this is what I'm supposed to do. Yeah.
Because it'll be one moment like I feel like yes, and it'll be another moment like that ain't God. And so I have to keep going back in my prayer closet. I thought you said, you told me, Jesus, but I don't feel it. I don't feel it. Yeah. But does that mean it's not God because you don't feel it?
He didn't ask for what you feel. He didn't ask about your feelings.
It ain't about your feelings.
Because them feelings going to change today, tomorrow, the next, in the hour. In a minute, they can change. It's nothing about your feelings. That's why you ain't supposed to trust that deceitful heart sometimes, because the feelings that go along with it.
For real.
But I was just thinking, like, when you were just asking me that, all along in my journey, I've never had, it's crazy because I've never had friends, like I've had friends, but I've never had friends as close as I've had like my older friends. So when I went to University of Delaware, I was a brand ambassador for them. That was the way I got money in college. And so I was like, I want to meet the president. So I became really acquainted with the president, learning just how he runs the university, things of that nature. Wow. And that next year he was leaving the school, but I built a rapport with him. And when he left the school, I said, I've been looking for it. So I would send emails because of that. It's that connection. I've always believed in connection. My high school teacher, I built a rapport because I needed that connection. I was a graphic designer. And so he left the university and I needed a job really bad. And so he said, I'm at Winterthur now. And he said, come over, bring your resume and I'll get you set up with an interview immediately. I talked to the lady in the education department. She got me a job within the next week.
Wow.
Everybody that I met at Winterthur put me in position to get to where I needed to go. So therefore, like I will post it, an older lady now. She's 89 years old, and I talk about Jean more than I talk about anybody else. She would motivate me in so many ways to say, oh, Kiara, you have this in you. You have that in you. And you're not doing it. And I'm not understanding why you're not doing it. And all her children are successful. But we met a few weeks ago, and she said, I know you're creating a flyer for your business. And she said, I want you to put on there author and public speaker. So a lot of people don't know that I wrote a book already. And so my book was released last year, and I don't sell it.
Right.
And I'm a co-author for a book, but I don't sell it.
Right.
Because I wrote it at the time, and I was embarrassed of what I wrote. But it was my truth.
But listen to this. I'm going to keep that thought. That's why I stopped writing my book. Why? I'm dead serious, because I was like, it's too deep. Like
Yeah.
and people you afraid of
I'm
hurting
scared of
people.
what they gonna say.
You're afraid of your truth will actually hurt the people that
knows what.
And I'm serious. I started it a couple times and then I stopped and then it's so funny in regards to that. But something else you were saying about connections.
Yeah.
I believe and people who really know me, I always talk about when the Lord sits me or allow me to be around certain people for a period of time, or it's always a godly. I always say that about me because I'm kind of like a loner. Like, I got my kids and my sisters, whatever, but I'm really honestly like, and I had to accept who I was because I'm such a friendly person. I'm a server. I'm a person that loves to serve. But what I realized, that's a protection from God, because what he spoke to me about was that because of your honesty, your pure heart, not that I'm perfect, anything, but because I'm just a real person. And a lot of times real people, sometimes we are a little deceived because we feel like that about you and others, that automatically you're supposed to love me back the same way, not realizing you got haters, you got people that's really not for you. And so now God has cut the cord. Like, he only allowed me to associate with certain people. And it'd be older people. That's the funny part. That's what I wanted to tell you. It's like, I don't really have, you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, I want some friends. Like, my kids laugh about it. Like, I say, y'all my best friends and my sisters, you know. But even more so because they're around and they're like, Mom, you don't have no friends. And then they call older people that's older than me and say, well, we know. But I understand it's a protection that the Lord has put around us because he knows we are so open and so real that we'll open up to them and probably share. For me, I talk, you know what I'm saying? And I feel like when I talk, I'm helping you. Yeah. But some people grab a hold of what you say and use it against you because they don't want to see you win. They want to see you fail, and they want people to look at you in a different view. So, it's so relatable. Like I said, like I understand like all of this of what you've gone through. And another thing you said was, I dumb myself down. I'm circling back. Queen of dumbing down myself to make somebody else. And that's word. That's the word, because God said we always supposed to lift others up. But I always feel like I don't want to look like I'm, because I don't feel good enough. I never felt like I was good enough to put myself out there, but I always seen greatness in everybody else. And I'm a pusher. I love to push people into purpose. I love to, when they're down, pick them up. Girl, I see this in you. I'm a cheerleader for everybody else. And it hurts at times when nobody is a cheerleader for you. You know how, like, for instance, you can give somebody a prophecy and you can say for what the Lord has showed you about them. And from you, they'll hear it, but they don't feel as though you ain't got no titles or degrees or doctors or whatever behind your name or prophecy. So, okay, but let somebody else tell them that same thing. And they maybe whatever, they'll receive it and say, they told me, but they never received it from somebody and a little old me, I'll put, you know what I'm saying? And so I think I've always had that probably mentality, and I already know from like one of my pastors, you know, or way back in the day when we were young, pastor, I always give him a shout out, Pastor Revelle, I give him a shout out, is that he knew me really, really well, as far as like, I'm a jolly, fun, goofy, whatever, but he knew I was serious in ministry and so forth. And I used to tell him like visions and stuff that the Lord would show me, like the Lord said this, the Lord said that. And I would tell somebody else that, and that other person say, well, the Lord didn't show me. Like, you don't got no title, so it don't mean what you say. And then we would go somewhere else. Another prophet would say exactly what I said. And so, and I would be like, dang. And I think maybe that's a part of where I got not feeling good enough, because I know I'm, like I said, I'm a pusher and cheerleader for everybody else. But when it comes to me, I'm harder on me. And so I had to ask God to please forgive me. That's where Psalms 51, like, I eat that. I love that. To crucify, create in my heart, creating me a clean heart, even though we know it was about David and his, his sins of what he did with Bathsheba and Uriah and all of that. But I use that as towards my life, as far as me, like not being obedient to the Lord and not doing what he tells me to do, me feeling with low self-esteem. Like it was so many people that did some great things in the Bible, but had their self-esteem was low. You know what I'm saying? And I talked about that the other day, Elijah killing prophets of Baal, but then when he heard Bathsheba, what was her name? Jezebel was coming after him. He ran and was fearful. Yeah. You did all this killing. Why couldn't you have the attitude, I'm gonna kill Jezebel? Like, what's up? But he had low self-esteem at some point in his life. And it's so many people in the Bible that God called Moses, did great work, didn't feel as though he could talk right. You know what I'm saying? And so God was saying, but I'm still sending you, right? And God told Aaron to go with them. But it's so many people in the Bible that didn't feel like they were enough or good enough, but did some magnificent things. And how I try to view it, and I believe how the Lord is helping me to view it, is that's a form of humility, a form of humbleness. That's a way that it would, that's I believe that's God's way of keeping us on our knees to trust him and not us. Because if we think we're all of that or so great, then we won't feel the need to seek him as much as we do. We won't feel the need to depend on. That's for me. And so when I try to understand why at times, like people may say, girl, you've been out here, you've been doing what you've been doing, but they don't know the insecurities at times that I face. You know what I'm saying? They don't know, girl, you've been doing this since you've been 12, but I still got insecurity. Girl, you've been singing and doing it, but I still got it. But what I realize is I'm changing the wording, that it's not fear. I'm trying to look at it in a different view to say, you know what? I'm not trusting in me. I'm trusting in God. And so I need to depend on him the more. Like it keeps me in my word. It keeps me on my knees. It keeps me like not trusting in this, not trusting in other people, but trusting in him. You know what I'm saying? So when we feel as though we're not enough, or we feel as though we're not good enough, for me, it is our job to push everybody else up, but to teach them or at least try to help them and help them to understand that that's just a way that God is, I feel like, trying to get your attention. You know what I'm saying? Do you think so? Yeah. Because there's so much greatness in all of us, but when you got the insecurity or the fear or the worries or whatever, I feel as though that's the perfect time for you to seek God. That's the perfect time for you to say, okay, God, I don't trust me, but I'm trusting in you. So when you say dumb yourself down, like, girl, I was like, twin, where have you? No, because you know what I'm saying? But it's a form of humbleness and humility.
Yeah. And it's crazy because that's exactly what I would tell, my older friend Jean. I'm like, Jean, look, I don't think that I could do public speaking. And she'd be like, oh, just go with it. Just go with it. So I put it on my flyer like she told me to do. And I had my first national public speaking engagement that I wrote a course for. And so I did it. Everything went well. The crowd's like excited and everything. And still in that moment, I was still like, these people came and listened to me. Like, I don't know. It was just like, I knew I could do it, but I still was like in my own head about about what, what will come from this? How will people receive what I have to say? Things of that nature. But it's like, ever since I've put it out there that this is what I do, it's like, oh,
doors opening.
You want to come speak at this, and and I'm like, God, I know I said that I wanted to do this, but
and I know it's almost time to wrap up, but same here. Like people would say, come preach, come this and this and that. I'm a preacher, and I didn't have a problem so much back then, but as I get older, I'm like, get somebody else. Like I try to feel comfortable behind the keyboard, even though I'm not super comfortable behind the keyboard, because I want to be better in that area. Insecurity. In your mind. You know what I'm saying? Singing, I want to be better. So it's always, you know what I'm saying, the enemy trying. But again, I look at that as being my way of connecting more to God, staying closer to him. And I have started saying yes now to preaching engagements and now stuff like that. But to wrap it up, let me ask you this question. What advice would you give your younger self?
Oh, Lord. And that's a big one. I think everything that I wanted to tell my younger self, I tell my daughter now. And so I look at her as my second chance. And I always tell her, always do things with the most purest intention. Never rely on people because people will let you down.
That's Bible.
And I always tell her, in any decision that you make, trust God first. But the most time that you should do the right thing is when no one is watching. I instill that in her so much, and I know it gets on her nerves, but at the same time, I need her to understand that anything that she does in life, she could be the best at whatever it is, but if her character is tainted, it will not get her far. Wow. And so I try to, so if I had to tell my younger self, I think that would be the thing it would be, is to build myself up. And building myself up, it would be building my character first. I always relied on words from my mom or anybody else, and sometimes I didn't get those words. And so just to have the cry out, the need for those words, and not knowing what exactly I was looking for, I think that would be the main thing, is just to rely on God at the end of the day.
For sure.
We don't know what another person is experiencing, and so we don't know why they do the things that they do. But at the same time, understanding that everyone is humans and we're responsible for our own actions. Yes. So therefore, always building up yourself and knowing that you have to receive people for who they are and not try to make them something that they're not.
Amen.
So,
oh my God, this has been such a pleasure.
Yes.
And oh my gosh, this has been great. This has been wonderful. When I tell you, you made my day, because I'm always thinking I'm alone in some, even though people share, but it is so good to hear the things that you, and like I said, I'm older, so to hear it from a young person, you know what I'm saying, and to see your great accomplishments and your great achievements and so forth, it's inspiration. I don't care what age you are.
Right.
You are a great inspiration to everyone that's listening, and I want to tell you, you keep up the good work.
Thank you.
You keep on doing what God called you to do, girl, because greater is coming.
That's right.
Greater is coming for you, and I'm so happy that we connected. It was really the Holy Spirit connection, because the Lord said, no, let's keep this going. Call her and tell her, come and be a part of this. And that's what I want this to be about. I don't want it to be flesh. I can't stand flesh. I can't stand my flesh getting in the way. That's right. And when I say that, it means it gets in the way of what God is telling you to do, because the fear overtakes. So then the flesh is saying, you can't. No, girl, you should be scared of this. You should. And our flesh hinders us from so much. And so that's the season that I'm in. And I hope for the rest of my life, I just want to hearken into his voice and observe to do all the commandments he commands me to do this day and every day of my life. I want to be obedient to his will. So I'm thankful that I was obedient, that I called you, you answered, you respond without hesitation.
Yes.
And you are amazing.
Thank you.
So look in the camera and tell somebody that, girl,
you are enough.
Enough.
Yes, you are more than enough.
Amen.